So in the basics, we had understood what actually are thick client applications, right? What are the features and advantages of thick client applications, and what are the types of thick client applications? Typically, there will be two types, two-tier and three-tier. Two-tier will be client and server, where client will be handling the major part, which will be presentation and application logic, GUI, all of those specific type of things, and server will be managing the data logic and application logic, which will be available in the backend. Three-tier architecture will be having three particular different things. First one will be client, which will be our front end. Back end will be application, and third one will be database, where the data will be managed, except that everything will be same. Then we had discussed about the major vulnerabilities in our testing methodology, and we had discussed about the tools which we will be utilizing, right? Now, after that particular session, the second session, we had understood regarding the configuration of our lab environment. We had understood how we will be able to go forward and install our Windows 10, download and install our Windows 10 machine. Then we had understood how we will be able to go forward and download these tools, which we will be utilizing for our information gathering. And then we had understood how we will be able to go forward, and we had understood the basics of portable executable, right? So which is PE headers. So in our today's session, we'll be conducting the information gathering, and we will be analyzing the application, and we'll be seeing how actually we will be able to go forward and follow the steps which will be available for our information gathering methodology for our thick client applications. Typically, information gathering phase will be divided into two parts. Today will be the part one, and tomorrow will be part one. Today we'll be conducting few of the test cases, and rest of the test cases will be conducting in our tomorrow's session, right? So basically, that is how we will be dividing our information gathering phase. Just a disclaimer, now whenever we were doing the web application penetration testing, right, we were having loads of steps in information gathering, right? Gathering the subdomains from different sources, right? Checking the active subdomains, checking the passive subdomains, then basically validating what all are the live subdomains, what are the responses from the subdomains, then validating whether there is any subdomain takeover can happen or not, validating whether there is any kind of hidden directories or hidden parameters which are available or not, whether there is any kind of configuration files, whether JavaScript files are containing some specific type of sensitive data or not. All those specific steps were available in web application penetration testing, because there was a huge amount of scope which was available there. In this one, right, typically developers does not create those kind of things, and there is nothing like subdomains within the thick client application, right? Here we will be having very limited scope, like how we are having in the mobile applications. Mobile applications will not be like one organization will be having thousands and thousands of mobile applications, right? They will be having the specific 2 to 3 or at max 4 to 5 web mobile applications, which they will be utilizing, where all the functionalities will be covered up. Same thing happens with the thick client application as well. So there is nothing to go forward and look around, right, and validate that what all are the things which are available. Here our scope will be very much limited, right? And basically from that limited scope, we need to identify what all information can be useful for us in our further analysis, right? So basically everything will be available with us itself, because the main executable file is available with us. So we will be gathering the information from that particular stage. So there will be very less time which will be investing in information gathering as a part of thick client penetration testing, right? Compared to web application, there we were investing loads of time, right? Compared to the main penetration testing, we were investing more time for information gathering, because there was lot of information to gather, but here there is nothing much more, right? So that is the main reason why we'll be having here the test cases will be much more less, and we'll be able to gather more information in less test cases itself. Okay, so let us go forward and start it up. Basically, what actually are the things which we'll be conducting here, right? Basically, we will be going forward and we'll be analyzing what all are the PE headers, what are the information which we'll be getting in PE headers. Don't worry about the PE headers. We will again revise what actually are the PE headers and how they will be working, right, during our walkthrough of that particular application itself. Then we'll be taking up decompilers and deassemblers, right, to analyze whether we are getting some specific type of code or not, right? And then we'll be checking the strings, which will be a Unicode or ASCII strings, which can be coming up within the application. So these are the three main steps which will be, or three main test cases which will be analyzing in our today's session. The application which will be going forward and validating in our demo, this particular demonstration and next all demonstration, I will be providing you all the applications. For today, we'll be utilizing these applications. Again, the links to download this particular application will be available in the PDFs itself. So you can just go ahead and you can just download it from that particular place. For example, here I can just copy it, and let me just go ahead and we will be going forward and paste up, right? The applications will be majorly live applications itself, which are the current version, right? Live applications. In case if some applications has been recently patched up that particular vulnerability, which I used to show in the demonstration, definitely some application might be where I might show you the demonstration in the demo applications or those kind of applications, but majorly will be going forward and seeing all of our practicals, all of our test cases in our live applications itself. Similar to this one, this is also one of the live application which you will be able to download as well. What we are going to do, what we will be going forward and doing is, first of all, we will go ahead and we will download it. We will click on here, the download option, and basically within some seconds, we will go ahead and we will be able to download. Now, sometimes, right, during your project, you might face one of the challenge, right? What actually will be having the challenge in web application testing? Typically, we will not be facing this particular type of challenges, because what happens is we just need a URL and our browser will be able to interact with that web application and we are good to go. There is no specific installation steps or configuration steps which are required there, right? In this scenario, whenever we are dealing with the thick client applications, typically what happens is many times we might get stuck in the configuration itself or installation itself, because it might require some specific type of dependencies. It might require a separate server to get installed, or it might require some specific type of things which we might know or don't know, right? So typically in that kind of scenarios, there will be two things to help us out. First one will be user guide. If we are downloading it from some of the official websites typically have some kind of user guide, which can help us in a step-by-step manner to install, right? That is the first thing. Second thing will be our clients. If we are having that clients, right, many times what happens is during my projects as well, I do not get any kind of user guide. If I ask them, they might not having the user guide, or they might not have created the user guide for that particular space, right? So at that point of time, we need the support of our client to go forward and properly configure it in our machine. So at that point of time, the typical installation steps will be having, we might go ahead with our client on a call. They will take over the remote access of our system, and basically they will install it, they will configure it, and then we can start up with our testing as well, right? So many in my many projects as well, I have found those specific type of scenarios where some kind of .NET dependencies or some kind of Python dependencies are not pre-installed. Definitely our system will be a fresh system where the application might be using some separate set of those things, right? So at that point of time, we might not have those kind of things. So at that point of time, either we if there is user guide which is available from our client or that particular program which we are targeting, we will be going forward and will be doing that, or we can ask our clients to go forward and execute and install it properly within our system, right? So those are the things which we'll be having, but this is what we will be facing during our projects as well. Now here we are having those specific downloaded option, right? So basically, yeah, here you can see just now we have downloaded that particular executable, that application which will be targeting or which will be conducting the test cases for today's session. What we will be doing is, as it is a zip file, I will just decompress it, right? I will just extract all those specific data. Here you can see everything is there. We will just extract it. And here you can see it will take few seconds to go forward and extract, and then we will go ahead and set up for completing the installation. We'll wait for a few seconds for the extraction to complete, and here you can see now it is executed. So if I go to my downloads, and if I go to that particular folder, this is the folder, right? Basically, I'm having all the files which are available, right? There are few of the DLL files. There is the main executable file, and there is the user guide, right? So user guide, we can utilize during our installation as well. We can just go through the steps and we can install. For now, what we can do is we can try to do the normal installation and see if that works. Then we do not have to read all those stuffs, and don't need to go forward and do that. But in case if we are stuck, user guide will be able to help us there. We will go ahead and we will double click on executable file, and we will see how actually that installation steps are working. We will double click on that. And here you can see there are two separate options. The first one is to have the local file where the data is getting stored in the local file itself, and there is some separate server also configuration. So in case if we are having some separate server, we can just go ahead and we can give the IP address of that particular separate server, port number, and all the configuration details like password and those kind of things, and it will connect to that particular server. For now, if we want to access the application, what we'll be doing is we will create a local file, we will create the demo data, and we will click on OK. So basically what it will do is it will just go ahead and it will get installed. It will complete the configuration steps, and we will be able to access the application as well. Let us go ahead and wait for a few seconds for it to complete all the installation steps. And then we will see how actually the application is looking like and what are the functionalities of that particular application. Now the installation of the applications might take a few minutes, right? Based on how much application has those many functionalities. Many times, if you see or if you have downloaded this kind of applications, right? Skype and Zoom and all of those kind of applications, typically they take much longer, right? Because they are having a good amount of resources to get configured within our system. So based on the application, how much bigger it is, definitely it will be available. Now the first thing which is it is giving to us is this kind of pop-up where it is asking us for the username and password. One thing to note down here is this option. Here you can see the window name, right? This is the window. This is the pop-up which we are seeing. This is the window, and the window name is logon, right? This kind of things we will be understanding, or we will be noting down the names of those windows, because later on whenever we are looking for the vulnerabilities or misconfigurations, this name might be coming handy for us. Now for now we are not having any kind of username and password and those kind of things, so we will just go ahead and check whether we can directly get into that particular application or not. Typically the passwords might be right password or admin or administrator and those kind of things. And here you can see basically this is a kind of tasks application where we can go ahead and create new task, right? We can assign that this week I will be completing this particular task, today I will be completing, and what are the critical tasks and all of those kind of things. But as we are you're logging in for the first time, normally what we are going forward and will be doing is basically we will change our application password, right? And to make it much more secure, right? So here you can see there was the settings tab, and basically within the settings tab we are having those specific options. So basically persons and groups and users. So we can just go ahead and change our password so that we can make it much more secure, and basically no one other than us will be able to access this application. So there are few of the users which are available. What we are going to do is for our administrator, we will just set up the specific password. Now I have clicked on it multiple times, so that is why it is taking somewhat time to get all the things processed. But yeah, after the first time installation and first time execution, we will not face this particular type of issue where it takes much more time for processing, right? Let me just close it up and start. So there are multiple instances of the same application which has been in the process. So that is why it was taking some more time, and it was showing us that it was not able to respond, right? Because of that particular reason. Now, what I want to do is, there are multiple users, right? And currently I will be the only user who will be using it. So I will disable all the other users, and basically I will just set up a separate password for my account so that I will be able to go forward and log in, and basically we will be able to get the details as well whenever we require, and no one else will be able to check for that particular thing. Let me just close this up quickly. And this kind of things might happen with us based on how much resources we have allocated to that particular machine, right? If I have allocated less resources, sometimes the client application tend to take longer time to process, okay, based on our available resources of our system, right? The RAM and hard disk. In case if our system is getting hanged, or our system is getting frozen, or we are not able to complete the normal task, definitely we need to allocate much more memory or the resources, right? RAM and the memory, and we will be good to go. For now, I have just allocated the very bare minimum memory, right? So and basically typically it is fine. But yeah, in case if those kind of things are available, what we need to do is we need to increase those resources to get the good response from the applications and the operating system as well. So typically now you can see if we have executed it second time, it will be much more faster, right? So how much basically for the first time during the installation, it will take some time to configure and those kind of things. So at that point of time, what will happen is basically it will be a time taking process, but later on it will be much more faster. What we are trying to do is to make the application much more secure, we will just go ahead and make our own specific passwords and enter our own passwords and remove other users which are not going to access the application at that point of time. We will let it load for a few seconds. We will go to that particular tab where we can do our configurations of user credentials, and we will modify the details as per our requirement. And if this is not responding again, definitely I will try to increase my resources. But typically this response today, I'm not sure what actually is happening. But yeah, basically these are the typical configurations of the application, and this will be our first particular step, that what actually we are requiring, right? Basically what we will be doing is we'll be understanding what actually is the functionality for what is the main functionality, right? here the application is specifically where the user can set up their own task and all of those specific type of things which are available, right? So those specific things are available within this application. So that is what we will be doing. We will be checking, we will be going into the applications, we will get into the configurations, we will see what actually are the functionalities within the application and how everything is available at that point of time, right? Now what we will be doing is basically, now that we had understood the specific functionality of the application, the first thing what we need to do is we will be going forward with our a particular first test case to understand what actually are those specific things which we can find from the application executable file itself, right? So that is what where we will be checking for the PE headers or portable executables. Now, before jumping into that particular part, let us revise what actually is portable executable. Portable executable is nothing but those specific type of things where basically we will go forward and okay, my full system is hanging today. I'm not sure why. Let me just quickly delete. Give me one few minutes, guys. Just I will close few of the applications. Yep. So let me share back my screen and let me just okay. So basically now what actually we will be doing is our first thing, right? So basically we will be validating the PE headers. So PE headers, what actually are those specific headers? Typically whenever we are executing the application, whenever we are executing the application for the first time within our system, basically this PE headers will be containing all those specific details on an overall in the application, right? For example, the architecture, that those mode or not, right? Where the what all are those specific DLL files, which it is before execution of the code, for files the needs or not, right? For example, normally operating system does not particular machine. Typically, at that point of time, our operating system will be available within the operating system, which is requested by the application. Similar type of things will be there within the architecture as well. Sometimes we will be saying, right, if we are using 32-bit of the architecture of our operating system, although the application which we are trying to execute is 64-bit, before execution of the application itself, it will throw that, okay, this application does not support the architecture. So those kind of things will be available within the PE headers, and that is what we'll be reviewing, that what all are the things which are available, what are the typical functionalities, what can be the things which can be available likewise. So here you can see we are having the administrator password. What I will do is I will just set up a specific password which can be this one, right? Basically we will make other users inactive so that only we, which is administrator user, can be the one which will be the active user, right? We can only log in with our specific password, right? Now what we will be doing is we will click on OK, And once we are done with OK, we will log out and we will try to log in again. So here you can see this is the logout button. We will log out and we will try to log in, and we will see whether our updated configuration has been available or not, right? Has been executed or not. So we will just quickly log out. We'll try to log in. Now again, this issue is not with this specific application. This issue this issue, like the application is a bit slow, right? Because of my operating system itself. Basically here today, I'm not sure basically my operating system, why actually it is taking much more time. Typically it does not do. But yeah, in your system, if you are executing the same application, definitely you will not face the lag in the execution. So basically now if we are going back to the system, right, the application here, if you see, if I just enter the normal without any empty password or something like that, here you can see it throws us an unknown warning. If I enter any kind of wrong password, again it throws me warning, right? If I enter my correct password, then only it will allow me to go forward and log in, right? So basically likewise. Right, so basically currently I had entered my correct password, then only it is allowing me to log in, right? So typically these are the overall major functionalities which are available within the application. Now what we'll be doing, our first thing will be to go ahead with our CFF Explorer. So CFF Explorer is the tool. What it will do, it will just go forward and it will validate what all are those specific PE headers and the details of PE headers within this application, and we will be able to see those specific details. So what we are going to do, we will just drag and drop this file within this particular CFF Explorer, and typically we will be having all the details which are available. Now what actually we need to go forward and collect the information for. Typically we will not be getting major details within that particular thing, but what actually are the things which are required is this one, which is what actually is the type or information of that application, which language the application has been developed in. Many times it will be .NET, it might be Java, it might be Python. What particular type of language which has been utilized by the application. Why actually we require this information? Because whenever there is any kind of disassemblers or debuggers, which we are going to see in our next step, right? Typically what will happen is those specific applications will be supporting a specific language to get other specific application code, or to debug the application code for us, right? So if we know that which particular language it is developed on, we need to, or it will be helping us to select which tool we need to utilize for getting the exact code out of it. So this is the first info thing. Whenever you are opening the application, within the application file info itself, you will be able to see this particular type of information, which is where actually, or within which application, or which framework this particular application has been developed. Next all things will be what kind of application version is, right? And the name of the application, company name, and file version, all of those kind of things. This might be helping us for our reporting part, but during our test cases, definitely this is not the major thing which we'll be looking for. If it is not there, it is okay, it is well and good for us. Second thing which we had discussed yesterday was dose header, right? So first one was dose header, which we had understood previously. Dose header will be just telling us whether the application supports dose mode or not. Dose mode means the MS-DOS operating system which were available previously, right? Older MS-DOS operating system. Typically, the application will be having two things here. Either the application supports dose mode or it does not support dose mode. Here, by default, response will be application does not support dose mode. Okay, so at that point of time, if it is not supporting, it will be supporting our regular operating system itself. So those kind of things will be there. And here you can see that that particular information is available in an hexadecimal format. Again, that is not much more necessary for us. What we are going to go forward and see is the next one is anti headers, where the file headers and those kind of things will be available. and which particular architecture it is supporting, right? So here you can see Intel and all of those kind of things. Again, those specific type of things will not be that much helpful for us. What we will be going forward and we will be requiring is this particular thing where we will be checking for the import, right, the resource directory and debug directory. So what actually are the things which will be available here? Import will be giving us which particular type of import DLL files are required. What actually are these particular things? Typically what happens is when it comes to our DLL files, right, our application for getting the access of the specific data or the resources within our system, it will require to access the DLL files. For example, if it needs to open some specific type of windows, right, some the pop-up which we have seen currently, right, to go forward and show us the contents and all of those kind of things, it typically requires our operating system systems permissions, right, to go forward and get those specific details. To get that particular thing, it will be requesting our operating system's DLLs, right? That might be kernel32.dll, msvcrt.dll, right? These are the types of DLLs, and there are loads and loads of DLLs which are available. And basically the application will call the DLL file. Operating system will accept that particular details. It will allow to access the code of this particular DLL files, and then application will be able to have the access. Same thing happens here also. I have opened my Sublime Text, right? It allows me to write down. It allows me to go forward and write anything here. So for that particular functionality, it requires to access my keyboard. Whatever are the keys which I am pressing, it requires that particular access. So previously, while execution, it will go forward and take the permission of the operating system. Operating system will accept that particular thing. It will go forward and allow the access to that particular DLL file, the code which is available within the DLL file. It will allow that access to that particular code, and with that code, this operating system, this application will be able to access that particular permissions. Similar things will be happening with all those specific things. If it requires my audio, if it requires my camera, if it requires my mouse, if it requires my keyboard access, if it requires to open some specific type of pop-ups, if it requires to create some kind of temporary files or any particular type of main files, if it requires to create the folders, if it requires some specific type of external connections, all those specific things will be having a separate DLL files, and basically within the import directory, that particular files will be listed down. Here there is one particular file, right? But whenever if you see any other applications, there might be few or there might be more based on the functionalities which are available. We can note down this particular details here for now, because later on, whenever we will be going forward with our vulnerabilities like DLL hijacking, right, there will be requiring this particular information, right? Because we can check the path of which particular place the DLL is getting called, and basically we can modify that particular path and add our malicious DLL, which will be called later on by the application. But yeah, we can note down that particular part for now. Anyhow, this is an information gathering phase, right? So basically we will be noting down all those informations, and basically later on we will be utilizing during our vulnerabilities section as well. So which are the two information which will be requiring? The first one is, in the file, we will be going forward with our file information and checking which language or which framework has been utilized. The second thing will be import, and here we'll be checking what all are the DLL files which are getting called. Why that previous one file information is required for us? Because we need to understand which tool can be helpful for us to debug that particular application. Second one is this one, where we will be able to utilize for our future vulnerability, which will be DLL hijacking. Next thing will be our particular debug directory. In this scenario, many times what will happen is the specific timestamp and those kind of things will be available when that application is going forward, or when it was latest modified and those kind of things. But typically we get all the things in the main directory itself, so it is not an issue, right? Here we will be getting all the offset are nothing but the memory addresses, right? So basically what actually is the memory address when the application has been executed, right? Basically what memory address it will be executed. So all of those kind of things will be there. These things we will be later on utilizing whenever we are doing the application reverse engineering. Basically, we need to remove, in case if we need to remove some specific type of functionalities and those kind of things, typically we will be going to that particular memory address and will be able to modify those specific things as well. Okay, so these are the main three things which we will be able to go forward and identify whenever we are getting that particular details. Okay, so these are the things, except that here will be our hex editor where we'll be getting the hexadecimal code. For now, anyhow, this is not in a readable format, so we will not be using it. We will be able to go forward and get the disassembly code and rebuilder and those kind of things. Again, the CFF explorers, those specific details are not that much helpful for us because many times it throws an error. So these are the main things which we will be able to utilize. The last thing which we'll be checking is what all are the configuration files within this particular application and if it contains any kind of sensitive data or not. So typically it will be showing us this kind of configuration files. In some scenarios, you might be having one. In some scenarios, if it is having more, it might be showing you more. Here in the code, we'll be checking whether in the comments or anywhere, any kind of hard-coded sensitive data is available or not. Something like the specific credentials or administrator credentials, some specific type of URLs or IP addresses, any particular type of tokens or those kind of things, right? In this scenario, there is no specific things, but in case if it is available, it will look something like this. Here you can see this is the comment, and here it is operating system ID, which is not actually a sensitive data. But in case if there is any kind of token or any particular type of credentials, it will be showing you password or admin or those specific type of things. Basically, that those kind of things we might be looking for, and we can report it as well as a part of sensitive data exposure. So these are the main four things which we'll be looking at whenever we will be checking for this particular data, which is our first step, looking into the portable executable headers and validating what are the information which are validating. Okay, let us revise a bit before jumping into the next step. First thing
मुझे
is,
क्वेश्चन था, ये जो आपके
हाँ,
टूल्स है वो आपके वीएम में है या बेस में है?
बेस में हम कुछ नहीं करेंगे, हम सारा कुछ वीएम में ही करेंगे. ओके,
तो बेस के लिए क्या प्रॉब्लम है?
बेस के लिए ये प्रॉब्लम है कि ये जो टूल्स जो है वो हम वर्नेबल टूल्स यूज करेंगे, राइट? तो
हम्म।
वहां पे अगर वो टूल का वर्नेबिलिटी को एग्जीक्यूट करके तुम्हारा सिस्टम को एक्सेस कर सकता है, राइट? अब फॉर एग्जांपल पहले वीएलसी जो प्लेयर था,
हम्म।
उसमें डीएलएल हाईजैकिंग का वर्नेबिलिटी था. तो अभी अटैकर क्या करते थे कि जो भी हम लोग टोरेंट से या फिर ऐसे कुछ डाउनलोड करते थे, राइट, कोई भी वीडियो वगैरह, तो
हम्म।
उसमें वो पर्टिकुलर मेलिशियस जो उसका एक्सप्लॉइट है, राइट, उसको भी इंटीग्रेट करके भेज देते. तो हम बस वीडियो को ओपन करते थे और हमारा सिस्टम हैक हो जाता था, राइट? तो सिमिलर सा चीज है, यहाँ पे भी काफी वनएबिलिटीज हो सकती है. तो वहां पे अगर बेस मशीन में करोगे और अगर कोई भी ऐसा फाइल या ऐसा एक्सप्लॉइट डाउनलोड किया है, तो वहां पे सिस्टम एक्सेस हो मतलब सिस्टम हैक हो सकता है. कोई दिक्कत नहीं होगी, सारा कुछ मेन मशीन में भी कर सकते हो, पर ये रिस्क रहेगा, राइट? और अगर हमारे मेन सिस्टम में हमारा कुछ पर्सनल डेटा वगैरह अवेलेबल है, तो हम डेफिनेटली नहीं चाहेंगे कि कोई भी अटैकर को उसका एक्सेस रहे, राइट? इसीलिए.
ओके।
Okay. So first step will be to go forward and check which particular type of that file is or which particular framework is used. Second thing is we will be going forward and we will be checking the imports. What all are the DLLs which are imports? We'll be noting that particular thing down. Third thing will be we will be validating what all are those specific resources, right, which are available, and we will be checking the configuration files which are available at that point of time. Okay, and these are the main things which we will be looking at, right? Now, this was the first step, and basically we'll be collecting those specific information. Second thing is, based on that particular information which we had gotten, the first thing was here there is .NET application, right? So for .NET application, we'll be having one particular application which is the application which is dnspy. dnspy is a .NET disassembler application. what actually it will be able to do. It will be able to go forward and execute that code. While execution, it will be taking up all the code, okay, all the binary code. It will convert it into assembly level code, and that assembly level code again, it will convert it into the high level language code, which might be C# or C language code, and basically it will show the same thing to us, right? So basically that is what it will be doing. So whenever there is any kind of .NET application which we have found from our previous first step, we'll be utilizing in our second step 𝗔𝘃𝗶. If it is any particular type of other application, right, other particular framework, other language has been utilized, we will be utilizing our second application, which is bytecode viewer, and there will be opening it and will be able to view the code. Our second step will be to go forward and view the code, validating whether there is any specific type of sensitive data which is available or not, or any sensitive type of functions can be modified or not. Likewise. So let us go forward and check up with our second application, which is 𝗔𝘃𝗶. We will go ahead and we will open that particular application, and we will see whether there is any specific type of function which we can validate or not. So in this scenario, what I will do is I have just kept it downloaded right in front of you guys itself, right? So basically we will just open the 𝗔𝘃𝗶 application. I will just open that application. We will take up that particular executable file, and we will see what actually are the things which are available there. Let us open. Till this gets open, normally what we are going to do is we will be understanding how this particular tool works. Typically, whenever as a developer, I am developing any kind of application, right? Whether it might be .NET or whether it might be C, C#, right? Python, Java, whatever language might be. What happens here is whenever I convert it into an executable file, typically all those specific security things, right? Basically all the privacy related security will be implemented there. Why actually it gets implemented? Normally what happens is there at that point of time, that once things are implemented, anyone cannot be able to see that particular code in the same format which it was developed from. So basically after it gets converted into that executable file, if I share it with you, typically you will not be able to go forward and get back that particular code which I have developed. Why actually this kind of things are available? Because of the privacy reasons for the developer, because anyone or any other person will not be able to see their code. They will not be able to copy that code, right? Otherwise everyone will be able to copy, and there will not be any kind of originality in that particular code, right? So basically this is the main reason why once we are having the executable file, those specific type of things will not be possible. So to get an workaround, to review this particular code and to understand whether there is any kind of vulnerabilities which are available or not, what we are going to do, basically we will be utilizing our tools which are disassemblers, right? And basically the debuggers. What actually these are, what actually this particular applications will be doing. There is the main difference between disassembler and debugger. What they will be doing is basically whenever we are executing this code, okay, basically this executable file, whenever I'm running this file, right, what will happen is my CPU will get this particular code in a binary language, right? It will be ones and zeros. My CPU will be able to execute those specific type of things, right? Now what this disassembler will be doing is it will take that particular binary code from CPU. While in execution, it will take that binary code, it will change it into the assembly level code or assembly language code, okay, and that particular thing will be shown to us. And basically the specific type of codes which are available, where it can convert it into again live or basically high level language, it will also convert that particular thing. So from the assembly level language, it will convert it into the high level language, right, which we can understand and read, which might be C, C# or .NET or whatever are those specific code which we want to view, and based on that it will be able to show it to us. So whenever we are opening that, we might be able to see that, okay, this is the code which is available, but in the backend, this kind of process will be happening. It will be taking the binary code from our CPU. It will convert it into assembly language. Okay, from binary, we cannot directly convert it into the high level language, right? So it will convert it into the assembly level code, and then that assembly level code, it will convert again into the high level code, and we will be able to see that particular data. Okay, this is what this particular tool will be doing on a typical manner. Now what we will do is, I'm having this all things on a previous, from my previous sessions, so I will just remove all these particular things, and we will start it from fresh. So basically, whenever you are opening your particular fresh 𝗔𝗃𝗶, right? So at that point of time, you will be able to see something like this, where there are few of the configuration files and the code which will be available by default. What we need to do is, we need to take that executable file which we are targeting, and we will be adding that particular details here. So what I will do, I can either go to File, Open, and basically I can go to my downloads where I have downloaded it. I can go to that particular place, and here there is the executable file, right? I can click on that. I can click on open. What it will do, basically it will go ahead and it will complete all those specific steps which we had discussed earlier, right? This particular steps, and typically what it will be able to do is, it will show me the full particular code of that application. Right? So here you can see this is the exe file, and within the exe file, all those specific things will be available. So here you can see portable Kanban, which the tool, which is the application which we are targeting, right? And all the functionalities are available. For example, about box, right? There might be the about box window, which will be available, calendar cell, right? Calendar column, we have seen that calendar, right? Color picker will be there. So all of those functionalities are available. Edit box, and let us open one of them and see what actually are the things which are available there. So typically here, once it is decompiling, right? So at that point of time, it will be doing the same steps. It will be executing it. It will be showing us those specific details, and we'll be able to see this particular code. Now, typically, don't get confused, right? While seeing there is a huge amount of code. Okay, basically, this will be, you might find multiple, like loads of code whenever the application is available, but typically it will be very much easy for us to understand, right? We need to target, we do not need to go forward and review the full code, because there might be thousands and thousands of lines of code, but typically we'll be able to see this kind of things within our application. Now, what can be our first step, while once we have opened that particular application within our disassembler? What can be our first step? Our first step will be to target those specific type of functionalities which are typically user sensitive functionalities, which can be register functionality, login functionality, right? Password change functionality, right? And those specific type of functionality, right? User ID change or user change functionality. This kind of functionality will be typically going forward, and we will be reviewing. We will see that how actually the code is available at that point of time. Let us go ahead and check. Let us review what all functionalities are available within this application, and whether there is any specific thing which can be helpful for us, or which is much more interesting for us to review. So I will just scroll up a bit, and here you can see these are the functionalities. Let me just magnify it a bit, and we will see. Here you can see about boxes there, and these are the calendars and column pickers, command line options, right? Here there is edit box. Edit box will be that particular settings window which we might have seen, right? So that is the first interesting thing which is available. Let us go forward and check the next one. Here you can see edit box group, which is the main window of that edit box. File list, file lock, find, form one, right? These are simple things. Here, this is the first one, which was logon box. The first window which we have seen, right? Which was where it was collecting our credentials, right? So this is the interesting thing which is available. My checked list and my sound box and customer class and custom property program and those kind of things. registry options, ROM settings, self-update, settings, setup box. Okay, settings is one of the third thing which is interesting for us. And basically taskbar and those kind of things. So basically there are 2 to 3 of those specific functionalities which is important and which we are looking, or which we want to look at. Let us start with the first one. Let us go forward with the login first, and then we will move on to settings, and we will see what kind of things we are getting at that point of time. So to go forward and check that particular thing, here if we go to the login box which was available, right? So at that point of time, we'll be able to see the code of it. Let me just validate it a bit. So here you can see, if we click on that particular part, so basically here we will be able to see the code within the login box. Now here you can see there is a loads of codes which are available, right? Loads of lines of codes which are available. So at that point of time, typically we are not going to go forward and read every one of them. And first few things will be something like where it is calling those variables and everything. What we will be doing is we will analyze it and see what all are the functions which are using this particular method or this particular function, and what all are the functions which are used by this particular function. So what we'll be doing is we will just right click on this one. We will click on this option which is analyze. Once we are analyzing, what actually it will be doing, it will be giving us this option which is exposed by, extension, methods, and used by. Used by will be which particular functions are using this logon details, right? So for example, once I'm logging in, which particular function is using this particular login details, okay, and completing its function. So there is one particular function which is using this form1 or logon data is form1. So typically we can understand that whatever are the details which are taking up from here, which is logon data, is being used by this option which is form1. What we can go ahead is we can go ahead and we can double click on it. It will take us to that particular function, right, where that particular things are being used. So if we look into that particular function, where we can just, once we had double clicked on it, if we look into that particular function here you can see basically it is having the logon function where the variable is called, and it has created a new function where it is taking what actually it is taking the username equal to text, and it is showing that particular details. What actually are the details which are collected? Text, logon, box.username, which is username, password, and the auto logon, which is the function name. And then it is calling this function which is authenticate user. So basically authenticate user, it is taking two of the functions which is text and text2, and it is showing that whether username is done or not, or username is incorrect, and those kind of things. So typically our authentication is done with this particular function, right? Let us jump into that particular function and see how actually our authentication is done. So once we clicked on that, here you can see basically the authenticate user function is there, and here it is showing us the condition. So public boolean will be either true or false. Authenticate user, string, logon, and password. So it is taking logon, which is username and password, and it is showing us that user equal to this user equal to X, and compare a logon to, if it is 0 and the password is 0, then it will be showing us the true. So basically if anything, if user is null, then it will not be showing us, or it will be false, right? Means we will not be allowed to log in. If the user is inactive, then also we will not be allowed to log in. If both of them are correct, then only we will be able to see that particular data. And that is the main thing which we have seen currently, right? We were entering the specific null password, right? Any empty password, it was not allowing us to do that. Whenever we were entering the incorrect password, it was not allowing us to log in, right? So those kind of things we have seen after we have set up that particular password. Now what we can do is, here what I will try to do is, I will just take this particular method, where it went. Basically I will take that particular method. Okay, let me just go back to that particular place. And what we are going to do is, we will just go forward and take that particular method, and we will try to modify that particular logic. So let us go forward and do that. we will first of all go to like anyhow I missed um, basically we will just re-go to that particular function which was available. We will just go to that one. We will go to authenticate user, and here there is this particular thing, right? Typically what it says is the username, if it is compared to logon, so it will be comparing to its own data and it should be correct, then only it should be allowing. Then password also should be correct, then only it should be allowing, right? What we need to do is we need to change this particular thing. So either we can enter the by default thing is, even though username is correct or incorrect, it should be giving the result as true only, where it should be allowing us to log in, or we can just remove that particular statement itself, that even though if I'm entering any right credentials, wrong credentials, whatever are the things which I'm entering, it should be sending the true itself, right? Which should be sending the authenticated user itself. So what we'll be doing is we'll just go forward and right click on that, edit method in C#. So we'll go forward and edit that particular method. And now while editing that method, we need to make sure that we are not going forward and changing the things which are not which does not require to change. Let's see. For example, if I'm changing half of that particular method, which does not make sense, right? For example, if I'm changing here, so for example, user equal to user, find user, and if user compared to, and there is no specific details that whether it should throw yes or no. And if I try to compile it, definitely it is going to throw me the error. Here you can see cannot implicitly convert int into bool, because definitely it is not going, it does not make sense. What I will do is I will just try to remove that particular condition which was set up with the password. First one was user should be known and it should be available in its own database. Second is password also should be known and it should be comparing. What I am removing is I'm just removing that particular statement which is specific to password, which is you need to compare the password, and here we are telling that you do not need to compare the password. Now what I will do is I will just compile it. Here you can see we had entered that particular thing, and here you can see the data has been changed, right? Basically that particular code we have changed. Now what we are going to do, we'll just save it up. We will save all those specific things, and here you can see the specific file which was responsible for that particular data has been changed. Now what we are going to do is we will just make it the second file. We will click on OK and we will save it up. Now once it saves, definitely we can just close it for now, and we will see how actually the things are available at that point of time within that directories. We can go to the downloads, we can see where actually the new file has been created, and we will validate whether our updated application code has been working or not. So typically here you can see this is the file which you had created now, right? So 23 and 10.2, right? 10.3 was our thing. And here you can see this is the previous file which is available. Now what I will do, I will just change the file name to something else, something like, I will change the file name, right, to something like _bkp, right, or something like backup, and I will just keep it like that, because we want that file in case if we want to do our future test cases, right? We want that file, so I will just make it as backup file, and this file I will change it to the file which was previously available, which was main file, where something like data.dll is only available, which will be called by the application. Now that our modified file is available here, what we will try to do is we will just go ahead and we will execute the application, and we will see whether that particular function which we had entered is working or not. So in that scenario, typically what we had entered is you need to check the application username, okay, because anyhow we were knowing the username is administrator, but you do not need to check the password. So now we will see what actually is happening here. So basically we will enter administrator, right? And basically I will keep or I will even though if I'm entering anything like that, what I will do is I will just enter any of the random password. We'll click on OK, and you can see we had modified that particular logic, and any password I enter, or if even though if I'm entering the incorrect password or empty password, typically it is allowing me to log in, right? Because we had defined, or basically we had modified that particular logic, and basically we had bypassed that particular authentication within our first phase itself. Okay, so this is how we will be able to validate that particular code, understand what actually are the things which are available within that particular code, and then we will try to modify the same thing. Okay, so this will be our second step. Before jumping into the next steps, any doubts, any queries, anything till now, guys?
No.
No, it is clear, right?
बट ये रियल टाइम एप्लीकेशन में इतना थोड़ी इजी होगा कि
ये
कोड चेंज
रियल
कर
टाइम तो
दिया।
एप्लीकेशन है, ये कोई टेस्ट एप्लीकेशन, डेमो एप्लीकेशन नहीं है। ये रियल टाइम एप्लीकेशन ही है। ओके, यहाँ पे देखो, ये जो है ना, ये ओरिजिनल, मतलब ये जो सॉफ्टपीडिया में से ही हमने डाउनलोड किया है, राइट? ऐसा हो सकता है कि कई बार अगर एप्लीकेशन जो है वो ऑथेंटिकेशन कोड सर्वर साइड पे स्टोर कर रहा है, तो वहाँ पे हमारे पास ऐसे भी कोई हमारे पास कोई डेटा नहीं है, तो वहाँ पे हम ये नहीं कर सकते। पर जहाँ पे भी फ्रंट एंड में ये सारा ऑथेंटिकेशन सारा कुछ स्टोर होता है, तो वहाँ पे डेफिनेटली हम ये सारी चीज कर सकते हैं। ओके, ये कोई टेस्ट एप्लीकेशन या डेमो एप्लीकेशन नहीं है, लाइव एप्लीकेशन ही है जो लोग यूज भी करते हैं। ओके, yep, any doubts, any queries, anything, guys?
Nothing, Keval. Actually, just want to say, like, I generally have a stand-up meeting at a 10.
Okay.
So can we do hard stuff 9
Yeah,
to
yeah,
10? You know?
definitely,
Yeah, yeah.
definitely.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. So that was all about today, guys. Now let us go forward and learn our next test steps, right, in our next session. Okay.
Hello.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, so that was it for today.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, sir.
See that recorded videos as well as the today's session PPT I just shared with